Imagine for a moment that you are carrying a heavy bag filled with all your regrets, your mistakes, your perceived shortcomings. Day after day, you drag it behind you, thinking that somehow this burden will make you a better person. But what if I told you that the weight of guilt does not make you virtuous? It simply makes you tired. Guilt often feels like a badge of responsibility, a sign that we care deeply about our actions and their consequences. But let us take a closer look. What does guilt really accomplish? At its core, guilt is not an act of resolution, but a loop, a recurring thought pattern that locks us in a cycle of regret and self-reproach. It doesn't mend the past or shape the future. Instead, it traps us in an endless replay of our perceived mistakes, sapping the energy we could use to grow, heal, or create change. When you feel guilty, you might think, if I punish myself enough, I can somehow balance the scales, but guilt isn't a balance, it's quicksand. The more you struggle with it, the deeper you sink into it. And as you sink, guilt blinds you to what truly matters, taking meaningful action in the present. Consider this: is it the guilt that inspires you to apologize for a mistake, or is it your recognition of its impact? Is it guilt that leads you to improve yourself, or is it your inherent desire to live authentically and harmoniously? The answer lies in understanding that guilt is not the solution, it's merely a signal, a flashing light that says, pay attention, but once you've noticed the signal, why keep staring at the light? Guilt often masquerades as responsibility, but it's not the same. Responsibility is proactive, it seeks understanding and repair. Guilt, on the other hand, is reactive. It keeps you fixated on what you should have done, rather than what you can do now. The difference is subtle but profound. Guilt looks backward, while responsibility looks forward. Let us also address the false belief that guilt makes you a better person. Many carry guilt as if it were proof of their morality, thinking, if I feel bad enough, I'm a good person. But morality doesn't arise from how much you suffer for your mistakes, it arises from what you learn and how you evolve. Growth requires clarity, and clarity cannot coexist with the murky waters of guilt. Guilt, by its nature, is self-focused. It revolves around your feelings of failure, your regret, your desire for redemption. But life isn't about fixating on yourself, it's about engaging fully with the world. When you release guilt, you free yourself to reconnect with others, with your purpose, with the present moment. To break free from the cycle of guilt, you must first see it for what it is: a habit of thought, not a reflection of reality. Ask yourself, what does this guilt teach me? What can I do, right now, to align with my values? Then act not from a place of shame, but from a place of clarity and intention. Guilt is not a solution, because it doesn't resolve, it repeats. Real change happens when you step out of the cycle, let go of self-condemnation, and choose to move forward. The past cannot be undone, but the future is unwritten. Self-acceptance is often misunderstood. Many think it means resigning to flaws or giving up on growth, but in truth, it's the foundation of genuine transformation. Without accepting yourself as you are, you remain locked in a constant battle with your own being, a war between the person you are and the person you think you should be. This inner conflict doesn't lead to growth, it only leads to exhaustion and alienation from your true self. To accept yourself is not to declare, I am perfect, or to turn a blind eye to areas that need improvement. It's about acknowledging without judgment who you are at this moment. It's about recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, your light and your shadows, and holding them with compassion. When you accept yourself as you are, you stop wasting energy on denial, self-loathing, or pretending to be someone you're not. That energy can then be directed toward genuine growth and living authentically. The refusal to accept oneself often stems from an unrealistic ideal of perfection. Society bombards us with images of what we should look like, how we should behave, and what we should achieve. These external standards create a constant sense of not enough. You're told to strive endlessly to fix yourself, to become something greater, something more acceptable. But ask yourself, who decided you were broken in the first place? Acceptance begins when you understand that you are not a problem to be solved. You are a dynamic, ever-evolving being, inherently worthy of love and respect, not because of what you've achieved or how flawless you are, but simply because you exist. This worth is not conditional, it doesn't depend on meeting some external standard. The moment you stop resisting who you are, you begin to experience the freedom that comes from living in harmony with yourself. Paradoxically, self-acceptance is the key to meaningful change. When you accept yourself, you create a stable foundation from which to grow. Think of it like planting a tree. If the soil is barren or hostile, the tree struggles to survive, let alone flourish. But if the soil is rich and nurturing, accepting, the tree thrives naturally. Similarly, when you meet yourself with kindness and understanding, growth happens organically. Acceptance also teaches you to let go of the harsh self-criticism that often accompanies guilt and shame. These emotions thrive in an environment of rejection, where you constantly tell yourself, I should be better or I'm not enough. But when you accept yourself, you see those feelings for what they are, passing clouds, not permanent truths. You no longer define yourself by your perceived shortcomings, but by your capacity for growth, learning, and compassion. In accepting yourself, you also learn to accept others. The judgment you once reserved for yourself often spills over into your relationships. But as you cultivate self-compassion, you become more forgiving, more open, and more empathetic toward others. Self-acceptance isn't complacency, it's courage. It's the willingness to look at yourself honestly and say, this is who I am, and that is enough. From this place of acceptance, everything becomes possible. The past often feels like an inescapable weight, a relentless shadow following us wherever we go. It's easy to replay memories of mistakes, regrets, and missed opportunities, believing that by doing so, we can somehow change what has already happened. But this is an illusion. The past is gone. It is no longer real. All that remains of it are thoughts in your mind, and these thoughts do not have the power to alter what has already occurred. Think of the past as a film you've already watched. You can replay it in your head, feel the emotions it stirs, even analyze it frame by frame, but the events on the screen cannot be altered. The characters cannot rewrite their lines, and the story cannot take a different turn. Yet many of us spend our lives trying to rewrite that film, hoping that by obsessing over it, we can find redemption or relief. But instead of offering answers, this fixation on the past locks us in a cycle of regret and prevents us from fully engaging with the only thing that truly exists, the present moment. The present is the canvas on which your life unfolds. It is the only moment where you can act, feel, and experience reality as it is. When you are stuck in the past, you rob yourself of this precious opportunity to live. Regret may convince you that it's a form of self-improvement, that by dissecting your past mistakes, you will become better. But regret doesn't change the past, it only saps your energy, which could be used to create a better present and future. The key to freedom lies in realizing that the past has no hold over you, unless you allow it. Memories are just thoughts, and thoughts do not define you. They arise, they linger, and they fade. You are not your mistakes, nor are you the sum of your regrets. You are the awareness behind them, the conscious presence that exists here and now, always untouched by what has already passed. To live fully in the present, you must let go of the habit of dwelling on the past. This doesn't mean you ignore or suppress it. Instead, acknowledge it for what it is, a series of events that have come and gone. Learn from it, yes, but don't carry its weight with you. The past can be a teacher, but it is not your master. Letting go of the past also doesn't mean denying the emotions it evokes. If you feel sadness, grief, or regret, allow yourself to feel them fully in the moment. Emotions, like the past, are transient. By allowing them to flow through you without resistance, you free yourself from their grip. The present moment is always fresh, always new. It offers you the chance to start again, to make choices that align with who you are now, not who you were then. Embrace this truth, and you'll discover that life is not a story trapped in the pages of yesterday. It is an unfolding miracle, alive only in the now. There is a common illusion that runs deep in the human mind, the belief that we are separate from the world around us. We think of ourselves as isolated individuals, struggling to navigate life's currents, constantly fighting to stay afloat or steer our way toward an imagined destination. But what if this notion of separation is not true? What if instead you are not apart from life, but an inseparable part of its flow? Imagine a river. The water moves effortlessly, carving its way through rocks, soil, and valleys, guided not by struggle but by its own inherent nature. Now imagine yourself standing on the riverbank, trying to control its flow with your hands. This is how we often live. We resist the natural course of existence, convinced that we must manage, direct, and even fight against life to find peace. But just as the river does not need controlling to flow, life does not require resistance to unfold. The truth is, you are not the one controlling life's flow, nor are you an outsider observing it. You are the river. You are not separate from its movement, its rhythm, its direction. The same energy that moves the tides, grows the trees, and lights the stars also animates you. To resist this flow is to resist yourself. To fight against life is to fight against your own nature. This illusion of separation often stems from the mind's tendency to divide and label everything. We categorize the world into me, and not me into good and bad, success and failure. In doing so, we create walls where none exist. Life, however, does not see these divisions. It flows without judgment, without pause, embracing every twist and turn as part of its journey. When you cling to the idea of being separate, you cut yourself off from this greater harmony and feel burdened by a need to control what cannot be controlled. To truly live, you must surrender to life's flow. Surrender doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means letting go of resistance, letting go of the illusion that you are separate from the unfolding of the universe. It means trusting that the same intelligence that orchestrates the rising sun, the beating of your heart, and the turning of the seasons also governs your path. This trust brings freedom. When you stop fighting the current, you discover that life carries you not always where you expect, but always where you need to go. Challenges no longer feel like enemies, but like part of the natural rhythm. Achievements no longer need to define you, for you see they are just moments in the flow, no more or less significant than any other. Recognizing your oneness with life's flow transforms how you live. You begin to act not from fear or force, but from a deep alignment with the present moment. You stop grasping, fearing, and judging, and instead allow yourself to move with life as life. This is not something you need to achieve, it's something you already are. The river doesn't need to become the river, it simply is. And so are you. In the end, life is not something you must conquer, fix, or master. It is something to be lived here and now in its fullness. Guilt binds you to an imaginary past, self-rejection obscures your inherent worth, and clinging to separation keeps you from experiencing the profound interconnectedness of existence. But when you let go of guilt, of judgment, of resistance, you discover a freedom that has always been within you,